and no question about what is going to be the main topic of the morning, of course, and that was the passing of Kevin Keegan yesterday. And Gabs, you know, like everybody else, I was out having a walk by the Thames yesterday, and I was shocked. I had to sit down. I mean, I didn't know Kevin at all, but obviously he's been a big part of my life.
Of course.
You know, and to see him go, we knew he was ill with cancer, but to see him go so suddenly was a humongous blow.
I think as well, Jeff, you know, it's even myself, you know, growing up, national treasure.
Yeah,
people used to always say to you, Kevin Keegan, you know, the first thing that comes into my mind is that rant. You know, they've got
of course,
that's what sticks into my mind. But when you speak to the older generation, the amount of times that Alan, Ali have said that, like, Gabby, top manager, but even better player.
Yeah. Oh, he's a brilliant player.
So I want to ask, like, our guest today, Jeff, that watched him play, like, how good was he? 2 Ballon d'Ors. How good of a player was Kevin Keegan?
Well, he played the game with such zest, you know, with such desire. He always felt that he wasn't the greatest, but he was determined to make up for any shortcomings he had with the passion that he put into the games. I mean, he managed in the same way. That's how his teams played.
Yeah.
His teams really were a reflection of him, because they played, you know, in cavalier fashion with loads of individuals who gave absolutely everything, you know. So, and I said I didn't know him, but obviously, you know, after his career, he became a big name on the after-dinner circuit. So my path would cross a lot with people who crossed his path as well. And the thing that everybody said about Kevin Keegan, you know, people go and do an after dinner or a theatre show and things, and all they want to do is get away. But not Kev. He would, you know, there could be 1,000 people queuing up for his photograph and his autograph, and he would wait whatever time of night it was. He would wait until every single person had got the autograph, had got the photograph. You know, they paid to see him, and he was determined to give them value for money, which really, again, reflected his football career, you know. He was determined to give everything to football fans, and did. So, really
sad news, mate. And just flicking through social media yesterday, just seeing the tributes, you know, from so many players that played under him, and then players that played with him, and obviously would have known him from that era. Yeah, such horrible news, mate.
Yeah, I mean, just 75,
No age.
No. 2-time Ballon d'Or winner, if you prefer, European Footballer of the Year. England captain, England manager, an absolute legend on Merseyside and on Tyneside as well. Here's how talkSPORT reacted to the news yesterday.
What can you say about Kevin Keegan?
Well, to me, he's one of the greatest ever Liverpool players.
He has given English football some of its finest moments with Liverpool, with Newcastle.
I just loved him, and I'm really sad that he's gone.
Kevin Keegan scores, and his career on Tyneside turns full circle.
For the city of Newcastle, for the people, they've waited a long, long time, and they're the best. There's no doubt about that.
You feel empty because he was such a fantastic, fantastic guy.
The biggest superstar in our dressing room, and we had some top players in that era, was our manager.
And he gave them a brilliant football team that played some great football.
And he lifted us out of the doldrums.
With Philippe Albert.
Turned your TV on to watch Newcastle. They were that good.
He is a German icon, every bit as much as he is a British icon.
2-time European Player of the Year.
I played football up till Christmas that even I couldn't believe.
The whole career was characterised by that honesty and passion.
I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
So privileged to have had an incredible footballer, a great human being, and a wonderful manager.
You know, Kevin Keegan has given it his best shot.
Well, that's something that he absolutely always did. He always gave it his best shot. Trailblazer as well, of course, one of the first players to go and play abroad when he went to Hamburg, which shocked a lot of people. You know, the hairstyle, everyone wanted the curly perm once Kevin Keegan had got one. And you mentioned the rant there, and you heard a little clip of it, that I would love it rant during the climax, that 95-96 title race between Newcastle and Manchester United. And I'm sure we all remember that Liverpool game. We all remember the Liverpool-Newcastle
Yes.
day, you know.
Always 4-3, wasn't it? Always high scoring games.
Stan Collymore, you know, virtually the last kick of the game after Newcastle had led, I think, twice during the course.
I just want to hear,
of the
Jeff,
match.
like throughout the day, and hopefully we get the guests on breakfast show, just players that played under him as well.
Yeah.
You know, the players played with him. We don't know what sort of manager was he.
Yeah.
Was he one that like laughed and joked with you? Was he strict at times? Did you get a rollicking at half time from him? Did you get the hairdryer treatment? And because he developed, didn't he? Alan Shearer, Ginola, Les Ferdinand at Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you imagine? I mean, we're going to talk to Warren Barton after 7, who stepped into a dressing room that contained Ginola, Philippe Albert, Peter Beardsley, Les Ferdinand, Keith Gillespie, and later Shearer and Tino Asprilla as well.
Great team, wasn't it?
Oh, man. Well, and you know, most of those players are sort of reflection of him.
Yeah.
You know, talented, flair, cavalier, if you like.
Yes.
Sean's just texted and said, and don't forget he started his career a little old Scunthorpe before making his move to Liverpool. He'll always be our hero at Scunthorpe. And that's, you know, people forget that, you know, he was one of those who made his way, you know, from the ground floor of English football, if you're right.
And even when you think about England managers, Jeff, in the last 30, 40 years, he stands out, doesn't he? You know, just that era, and he's like Kevin Keegan, England manager. I know I was quite young, but growing up and seeing all the clips, his passion, determination as a manager, like incredible. Yeah, and I hope his family are very looked after.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, floods of tributes coming in since the news hit us. King Kev, of course, plastered all over the papers today. Lee Clark was part of Keegan's famous entertainers side. He joined Drive yesterday to reflect on his experiences with Kevin.
And the perfect example, Andy, was, you know, things get said about the lads from our era to say that we never turned down a request for a photo or an autograph. We spent time with people. And that was shown to us an example by the biggest superstar in our dressing room, and we had some top players in that era, was our manager, Kevin Keegan. He was the person that people came to see and wanted to be around. He never turned down a photograph, an autograph. He always spent time with people. When we've had some, you know, anniversaries of teams that we've had like, you know, the team that got promoted to the Premier League, I think that was a 30-year anniversary. And we'd done like a gig in a local hotel, and some fans had paid extra to get some pictures. Every single one of them person he had a moment with to chat with them before they got that picture taken. And it just showed you what the man was about. So he was the perfect example to us.
You know, in an ideal world, everyone would take a leaf out of the Kevin Keegan book. Would it have time for everyone? But you know what happens, of course, as people become established, people become famous, whether it be in football or any other walk of life, suddenly, you know, for whatever reason, you find you haven't got time for people in the way you might have done.
You have to, but that's how to be, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, of course it is.
You know what I mean? Like, the amount of times you've probably been through it, and I've been through it, where, you know, people might ask for a photo or something signed, and you're just like, no problem, no problem. You know, you can't be what we see definitely in America, some of the Americans that say no.
Can you imagine how many photos Kevin Keegan would have been asked for in Liverpool and Newcastle?
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he said yes to everybody.
Everybody, yeah. Joining us now is a man who can speak on Kevin as a manager, a player and a friend. He was part of the iconic entertainers side, the Grace Tyneside under Kevin Keegan. It's a very good morning to Warren Barton. Morning, Warren.
Morning, Warren.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Yeah, you're fine, thanks, man. I'm just thinking that, you know, Warren, despite all of his personal success, whether as a player or as a manager, we just had that text from Griff saying, you know, talking about Kevin Keegan just brought a smile to my face this morning. And what a legacy that is, that your memory, just your memory, brings a smile to people's faces.
Yeah, you're right, Jeff. I was okay until I just heard that little montage that you put together, and it just brings so many great memories, sad memories now, obviously, that we didn't get over the finishing line, not just for him, but also for the fans as well in that time. But he was such a gentleman on and off the field. He made you feel special. Gabby would relate to it, that certain managers just have a certain way of giving you confidence, giving you belief. And whether it was Alan Shearer, David Ginola, Les Ferdinand and myself or Rob Lee, he would treat us all differently, but knew how to press our buttons and make sure that we was going out there, and made it pretty clear earlier on that we was playing for the fans. They was working hard Monday to Friday, and we better bloody go out there and perform for the fans and give them something to entertain. And what was lovely, that time at Newcastle, the mid-90s with Kevin, as the whole place of Newcastle was vibrant, it was energetic. People wanted to go up there and watch the games. The club wouldn't be where it was without Sir John Hall and Kevin Keegan, and I owe him everything. He gave me that opportunity. He drove down. There was a game with Newcastle against Blackburn. He drove down in the morning, come and met me in a hotel in London and tapped me on the shoulder and said, come and join a big club. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had nearly 8 years up there, 220 odd games, captain that football club. And what he wanted to do more than anything is to make the people up there proud of their football club. And he did that. And they adored him. They loved him. And him and Sir Bobby Robson are cut from the same cloth of about, they understand the people. They understand what it was about. And as I said, there's not a day go by that I don't think about if we'd done that for him. And that's something that he would have, relished and cheered. Not just him personally, because, we forget sometimes, 2 Ballon d'Ors, he won so many trophies, he went to Germany and was a great success. But just as a manager and a person, we're going to miss him, because he was a special person. And at that time of my life, I was, mid-20s, early 20s. It's the best time of my life. The people that I played football with, I was lucky enough and privileged to play for Kevin Keegan. And just to have him as a mentor and as a person is sad. And we was trying to figure out something, the entertainers in the coming weeks, to try and surprise him a little bit, going to St James's Park. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be. But, gentlemen, we've been in football long enough that it's so ironic that the first game at St James's Park is Liverpool. And I can only imagine what the feeling's going to be and how we're going to be there. But, we love him. We missed him. And as I said, him and Bobby Robson, it was just a special play. Gabby, and Jeff, you was up there at St James's. At that time, it was unique. It just had magic in the air, and that was down to Kevin Keegan.
Warren, I said earlier, Martin O'Neill's my favourite manager, and there was a manager in Martin O'Neill that, even when he was angry, I look forward to seeing him in the morning. I can't say that about any other manager. His stories, his banter, the way he lifts you, his man management. Have you got any stories about Kevin Keegan? Because he seems like that sort of manager that everyone loved.
Yeah, listen, I've had a few rockets off of him in my time, and Martin Tyler spoke well about it, is that, yes, he was a lovely man, but also he knew how to get people, he'd speak to David, he'd speak to Les in a certain way. And I used to share the room with Les Ferdinand for a couple of years, and Kevin had a really strong rapport with Les and loved him. And I think he see a lot of himself in Les, how he was, very charming, wanting to please people. But Kevin wasn't the best dresser in the world. He thought he was getting suits made in London. And Les was a very stylish guy, a good-looking fellow, obviously. And he'd come into our room with these little Matador jackets that Kevin would wear that he'd had made in London. And he looked like a little Spanish waiter. And he'd come in our room, do a little pirouette, and Les would be chuckling, I'll be laughing, and Les would go, "You're looking tricky, Gaffer, you're looking tricky." And Kevin would walk out knowing that we've took the piss out of him, but that was part of him. And, coming home from the trips from London or down south, and we'd stop off at Leeds and go and get fish and chip, making sure that everyone's got their ketchup, salt and vinegar, and who's got fish and chips, and making sure Tino's okay, making sure, just a great man. And as I said, it's only now, gentlemen, when you sit back and hear things and see things and you think, wow, what a time that was, because it was the best time of my life, not only playing, but personally and everything that goes with it. And, my first game, he made sure that I had, 12, 13 of my family coming up to the game, put them in a hotel, looked after them, made sure everything was okay, picking them up from the train station. And he did that to everybody, whether it was a new player coming in or whether it's someone that had been there for a long time. And I remember sitting down with Les and Peter Beardsley about February time, and when the title race was going on, and just said, look, do you think we should maybe shore it up a little bit? And Peter turned around and said, no, he's going to do it his way or no way. That's the only way. And that was Kevin, Yeah. And then 18 months later, unfortunately, he walked away because he didn't feel like the club was in the right direction. But, that's in the past, and we just want to remember him as just a great football man, because there ain't too many of them around. We looked at that final at the weekend. that ain't football that we just see. Kevin Keegan, you know, would have hated stuff like that, but it was an honour. It was an honour and a privilege to know him, and for him to come and buy me and be there for that length of time was a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that game. This is not intended in any way as a slight to Thomas Tuchel, but a texter suggested earlier on that there was no way on earth, if we'd have gone 1-0 up against Argentina under Kevin Keegan, that we'd have then sat back. It just wasn't something he did, was it?
No, but we might have lost 4-3 like we did against Liverpool twice. But we would have a go doing it, and that was his way. Anyway, I remember Sky did a great piece that we had 5,000 or 6,000 people watching us train at Maiden Castle, and you know there was a hamburger stall there, and famous picture of Kevin and Terry McDermott sitting on top of the hamburger stall with their feet hanging over the edge, having a cup of tea and a bacon sandwich while we're watching us train with 5,000 or 6,000 people around there, covered in snow and watching a game. And he just wanted us to entertain. You know, he just said to us as soon as we got to that club, is that you make sure you go out at a weekend and give them fans something to cheer about and be proud of it. And we tried our best, but unfortunately, we failed, but we had a really bloody good go at doing it.
Yeah, it's no consolation to his friends like you, Warren, or his family, but he will never be forgotten. And whenever we think of Kevin Keegan, we will definitely do it with a smile 100%. On our face. That's for sure. Look, Warren, thank you very much indeed, mate.
Thank you, Warren. Top man.
No, absolute pleasure. As I said, I wish you both well, and I wish it was in different circumstances. Yeah. But you're right. You can only smile about Kevin
100%.
Because he was a lovely man and a good football man. But I wish you all the best, gentlemen. Good luck.
Thank you,
Warren, thank you so much. Former Newcastle defender and entertainer under Kevin Keegan.
You want to hear those stories, don't you, Jeff? You want to hear those funny stories about the ones you left Ferdinand, and that's what great that talkSPORT got Warren Barton.
Yeah, I mentioned nobody, and rightly, nobody's got a bad word about Kevin. Ian says, as a 9-year-old in 1982, I saw the England team leave for the World Cup in Spain. Kevin Keegan was the only person to have a picture with me. It lives with me today. I still have that picture at my mum's house. And Mark, the Saints fan, says Kevin Keegan was a legend. We at Southampton will hold him dear in our hearts as he chose Southampton after Hamburg. His book is a fantastic read. It just tells anyone reading it that everyone can achieve their goals. He was repeatedly told that he wouldn't make it as he was so small. The rest is history. And Mark said, I would love it, just love it, if you read this one out.